We are back for round 2, and I am with Alicia Wilhelmy. And Alicia, did I say your last name right? Wilhelmy? Wilhelmy?
Everybody, it's Wilhelmy, but Anderson Cooper also said it the way you said it the first time, so don't worry.
Okay.
It throws everybody off.
So now, Anderson Cooper, why is he saying your last name? Now I need to know this.
I got to be on CNN about our frustrations with getting the first round of the PPP loan.
What?
With him. Yeah. You didn't know that?
No.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, we're going to go back to introducing you in a second. Well, no. We'll do that real quick, and then we're coming back to this. Okay. Okay. So anyway,
Wilhelmy.
Wilhelmy. So Alicia's here with me. She's my new friend, and Alicia leads with a type 9, and we really tried to make this work on Monday with the Instagram live. But we had some technical difficulties. So we're back. We're on Zoom. This is pre-recorded, and it's actually really comfortable and nice because I know the quality is going to be great, much better. I say great, I mean great as compared to the technical challenges of Instagram Live. So Alicia is co-owner of Seemless Printing. She owns it with her husband, and Seemless Printing is a commercial printer located in Cincinnati, Ohio. And we are here today to talk about how it is being an entrepreneur, leading with the type 9 motivation. The type 9 is a peacemaker or mediator. The motivation is peace and harmony in all things, even sometimes at the behest of actually really needing to address conflict. And so I'll love to hear about this experience, especially co-owning with your spouse and running a business. And of course, your spouse is an 8. I'm married to a 9. I am an 8. So I really get this combo. And before we get started, we're going to go back to your experience being interviewed by Anderson Cooper, because we kicked it off with that, and now I must know. So, hi, Alicia.
Hi, Whitney. It's so good to be here with you. I'm really happy to get to know you, and I love the work you're doing with the Enneagram. And I know we haven't spent much time together, but I feel like this is the beginning of a real friendship. So that's exciting because we haven't gotten to make many new friends lately, right? Yeah. So, Anderson Cooper, first I'll say that this is more relaxing for sure. I could not see him when I was talking to him, even though when the interview aired, we appeared side by side on the screen. So I just had to do my best lawyer job to, speak well and make eye contact and pretend like I could see him. So one of my best and longtime friends works for CNN. And in the beginning of the pandemic, he and I had been talking about, the topics that they were covering. And we experienced some real frustrations as a small business getting the first round of the payroll protection program loan. So he had me on for a quick 2 minutes to talk about those frustrations. But I did get to be on screen with Anderson, so that was cool.
I mean, I'm talking to a type 9 that aired her grievances about some federal legislation on Anderson Cooper. I love it. I love it. It's awesome. It's awesome.
Well,
that is not something that I would just predict that you've experienced as an entrepreneur, especially leading with a type 9. So this is awesome.
Yeah. Thank you. It was fun and it was good. And you know what? It eventually, I believe, led to us getting the loan and getting a new bank who has treated us really well. And some other of the few new connections I've made in the pandemic are the women who helped me there. So it was great. But you'll have to watch the interview and see if I really aired grievances because I think he tried to get me name names and call people out, and I wouldn't do that. That was probably the
okay. There's a balance. That's fine. That's fair. Yeah. That's fair. No, that is really cool, and good for you for using your voice to help make change. Because not only did that make change for you, but I'm sure that was impactful for other people having this experience. So that's fantastic. That's really cool. Really cool.
Yeah, it was fun.
So
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk a little bit then about your background, because we do have some common ground, some really interesting random common grounds. And that is one, we're both like what I like to call recovering attorneys, meaning that we had a career in the law, and neither of us really pursue it much anymore. I do a little bit, but it's like 4 hours a week. And then also we both have experience in the printing industry. I was in print manufacturing in my most recent role at a small company, medium-sized print company in Newport, Kentucky, woman-owned. They manufacture labels, so packaging, a little different than commercial printing, but they do large volume labels. So I have a decent understanding of the press world as well. So I love that we have those common areas. So tell me about your path to entrepreneurship.
Sure. Well, yeah, like you said, I'm a lawyer. I grew up, that was just like, from the age when they start asking you what you want to be, probably too soon. I said lawyer pretty much because I wanted to be Claire Huxtable. And, I loved law school. I'm really happy I did that. But, I did not necessarily love practicing. And I was fortunate, had a great job, knew lots of great people. But I never really got off the ground in my practice. I practiced employee benefits, and I was drawn. I think this is kind of like a one wing thing. I was really drawn to the tax code, believe it or not. I liked tax law in law school because it was just like, it's all laid out, not a lot of gray area. Like, I did moot court, but I definitely did not want to be a litigator or
like part of the adversarial process.
Exactly. So we got married after first year of law school, and I walked into my first day as an associate already expecting our first child. So not a great foundation for figuring out how to balance the work and family life, because I never really got settled in my role there at work until, and then, also as a very young mother, I was like 26, which I'm, happy now that I'm kind of like my parents, in that I'm young and can enjoy my kids as they're getting older, and I have the energy to grocery shop for them. Good God. Christian started our business not long after we met, as I was pursuing the law career. So it worked well because he was building the business while I was getting the steady check. And he really started it just from a computer in the front room of our first apartment in the late 90s, like a year after we had met. And, so I've been with him throughout that experience and journey as we've transitioned from just him doing design and print brokering to us starting to acquire our own equipment, move the business out of the house around the same time that I left practicing law, and to come home and be with our little kids. And he got our first spot downtown, and now we're in our third location in downtown Cincinnati. And we've been there now for, I'm going to say, going on almost 10 years. We bought an old bank building in Queensgate, and like pretty much not doubled the size, but we added on the back room. So in the front of the house, where it looks like an old bank, we have digital and all the customer service work and like quick turnaround. So we help a lot of burgeoning entrepreneurs too, like a lot of side hustles come in, after work and get their print for their dream thing that they're getting started. And then in the back, we have the offset, bigger machines you're probably more familiar with from your experience. And we just got a new machine last August. So it's really like, it's exciting to see that happen. So
new machines are so fun.
Yeah. It's new to us, and it's like, it's bigger and faster and can do thicker stocks. So it's helped us get into some new lines of business in the pandemic, which is really good. So my path to entrepreneurship was really marrying one in the 8. And I think it's like now, as we, you and I have talked a little bit about the work-life balance issues for mothers, especially, I think it's been really great. And it's awesome that I reached the point in my journey and the kids were older and I was kind of like, everybody's good. I can be outside of the house more, and said, what am I going to do professionally? Do I want to go back to practicing law? Not necessarily. You know, I've had like varying roles in the business. Of course, supporting my husband and, you know, dealing with some of the more legal type stuff, like taxes and accounting. But as I wanted to get more engaged professionally, I thought, what am I going to do? And really, he and I both agreed it made most sense for me to get involved with the company on a more regular, outward-facing basis. So really, the entrepreneurial role I play is in connecting with other people, which is perfect for me as a 9. Like that's my strength, because I can relate to almost anybody. So that's where that's great to entrepreneurs. Yeah, not my idea, but I can be a great supporter of it. And obviously, it's our family, it's our whole life. So, you know, it really feels right, and I'm so grateful that I started that process before the pandemic, because, you know, it's been tough, and it's helped us like support one another through everything in this last year.
That's great. Thank you. And so let's talk a little bit about your Enneagram journey. How long have you been working with it, and how did you learn about it?
So I think I probably just heard about it through some friends. I have a couple friends who are into it, and more, like, I call Joseph Beth, you know, to get the latest book that you tell me about, and they're sold out. It seems to be trending right now, right? So good for you. You know, I've always, like, maybe this is part of the 9 thing, but I just remember the younger person wishing that there were like a list of things I could do for fulfillment in my life. I don't know if other types have that experience, but I think we started working with it about 3 years ago. And part of the success I experienced was convincing my husband to also go along with it. So
yeah,
could, like,
for real. Having the spouse do it with you is so powerful. It's so helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, you know what, now that I think of it, it was really one friend in particular who also was working for her family business. And they're a 2nd generation or maybe even 3rd generation owners. She and her siblings, and they had gone to the Gehring Center at UC, and the Gehring
Great
Center
program.
Yeah, encouraged them to do the Enneagram. So she really, in like just being a friend to me and hearing me out when stuff would come up with work or, you know, our relationship. We've been like, actually, I was with her when I met my husband, and they kind of knew each other before. So we're all like a little crew. She encouraged me to do that. So we did it. We started learning about our types in 2018. And I think we came at it a little bit backwards because, like you were suggesting, it's better to come in, maybe type yourself and get an overview of the whole system. And that's not the way we approached it, but I've been trying to like reverse engineer my understanding and really working with it, especially this year. And also, like, we got the other people who work in the front of the shop to find out their types. So I'm trying to.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's great for corporate culture because you're creating that self-awareness and empathy. And what I would offer is, like, we all get introduced to it one way or the other, right? My stance is understand it holistically as a tool. And that way, when you do discover your type, you're very sure that that's what you are. And also recognizing all the other types is really important because we have a little bit of it, of each of the types in us. And so we can recognize the other motivations and defense mechanisms as they're happening. And again, that just expands the self-awareness. And it teaches us that not everybody thinks the way that we do. And so, you know, that really helps develop empathy and relationship development with others because you're actually learning and understanding how other people process information differently. So and my last little spiel on that is the Enneagram is based on motivation, which is developed during childhood. It's really hard to assess that by having someone type you or having a test type you, as opposed to really understanding the tool holistically and going back to that time and figuring it out. So, but like, even so, like you said, you're doing all the right things. You learned, more so about your type up front, and now you're researching more and understanding it and understanding the tool. And I think that's great. That just means you really want to get the true value out of the tool. So I totally honor that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's no one path, right? So
yeah,
just doing the best. So lately what I've been doing, since the first of the year, I get the Enneagram Institute thought of the day, and I just sit with that every morning. And I recently modified my subscription, so I also get my husband's thought of the day. Just in case he didn't read his, then I can like sneak it in later. That
old 8. Yeah. We love being told what we're supposed to be thinking. It's so good. I actually, like, through Wise Wellness Skills, we have to sign up through the Cloverleaf program. So I get like a coaching tip of the day. And every time I read it, I'm like, shut up. Sometimes they're right and sometimes they're not. And every time, like, the eighth defense mechanism is denial, and it triggers my denial every time.
So funny. Well, sometimes we'll have like a little quibble or something, like no big blow up, but then later in the day, like maybe he's checking his email and he sees what his thought of the day is. It's like 100% on point of whatever happened.
Right.
Like, she officially sent it to me.
That's awesome. Good. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. It's good to be able to laugh about our quirks.
I mean, you have to. And I have to say, like, at the beginning, and maybe this was part of just getting typed with a friend, I felt so exposed, like, because it was like, who is reading my thoughts and writing it down? It felt really unnerving to me. And I had to just like say, okay, I'm just going to take a break from this for a while. Because I was, on the one hand, like, relieved to know that, I'm not alone and other people feel the same way. Actually, a lot, right? Like, I think aren't the most 9s of any number?
I've heard it's 6, but I think it's all possibly.
Yeah. Anyway, but I think it took me a while to be able to face it. That, I guess that's the shadow
it's
part.
Uncomfortable. Yeah, but it's uncomfortable, right? And I will tell you that isn't just common to 9s. That's common throughout when you discover your type. Every type has the shadow side and the good side. And so when you get an understanding of that shadow side, sometimes it can be very triggering and painful to process, but also once you do digest it, it can be very powerful. But often when I'm coaching people on helping them to figure out their type, I will tell them, if there is any type on here that really makes you uncomfortable, I really encourage you to examine it closer, because that's a signal. And it may be your type, it may not, but I would push on that a little bit and make sure before you move on, because a lot of folks will try to type themselves with the type that they want to be versus what they actually are. It's very tempting. Yeah. So it seems like a lot of people want to be a 7. Well, 7s are the fun-loving enthusiasts, right? So
I'm really fortunate to have a couple of great 7 friends.
Me too. But what I like to say is that no type's better or worse than any other type. They're just all nuanced in their own special way. So it's a fun journey, and I love you sharing your experience with this. And so let me see here. Let's talk about your core motivation, the need for harmony, the need for peace. How are you at this point, now that you've kind of worked on this development work with the Enneagram, nines have a really strong diversion to conflict, and we've kind of touched on that. How are you with conflict at this point, especially having to run a business and also running one with your spouse? Like, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, I think maybe because we've known each other so long, like got married pretty young. So I'd say at this point, we've been together maybe more than half of our lives. That's helpful because we do get one another and we've kind of learned how to navigate it. Like, what is an email conversation? What is a, midday at lunch conversation? What is definitely not a just walked in the door at 5 p.m. and I'm hungry conversation?
Oh, I love it. So, I'm hearing boundaries. Boundaries is, that's what you call that. And I also think we have really different roles in the business. So, I'm doing the banking and the payroll and, we touch base on what should this be. And he's more production and all that. Like, I don't know how to make anything actually happen there. I just know how to try to connect with businesses who could use our services and really who fun people we want to have relationships with, right? Like, isn't that what it's all about? Finding your people and lifting each other up, right? So that I think that is really helpful. The whole when you brought up the whole conflict avoidance thing, the first thought I had was our dinner time conversations lately, because we have some really intelligent, creative, opinionated children. And my husband loved to like hash the news of the day with them. But I'm like, I just want to eat my dinner and be quiet and not fight with you guys. So that's so funny.
I really have to push myself to get involved sometimes because I don't want to just sit by and not let them know what I think. But it's really not desirable to me to get involved in a lot of that. Like, especially our son is, he's 18, going on 19, and he just graduated from high school last year. And I mean, I'm really hopeful because this generation, they just see right behind all the BS. Like, they are so with it. And
great. Yeah.
It's really exciting, especially if we can, steer them toward optimism. I think I feel a little bit for them because I think everything seems kind of bleak right now, but I'm really hopeful for them, of course. But that's definitely the first thing that came to mind, is not so much in the business, but with the home life. And
sure.
I will say, like, and I think I've started to learn another thing about nines, though, is that like when there's a crisis moment, I get this like steady sense of calm, and I have learned to just address it. So maybe that's the mediator role. Like, it's not necessarily between me and Christian, but maybe if he's having a conflict with somebody else at work or a customer, I'm able to step in and mediate that, right? That's
great.
So that's a useful side of it.
For sure.
Yeah. And I have to push myself to do it, but once I take the first step, it's pretty, I feel like it comes naturally to me.
That's great. And and the other question I have for you, that kind of stems from a 9 more in the shadow space is, and this word sounds unflattering, and I don't mean it that way, but the notion of inertia, the idea of being slow to act. And it's not because of laziness, it's because of either paralysis in terms of like overthinking or just not wanting to go there, or because there is a little bit of procrastination. So there's action, but it's not the action that needs to be directed toward what needs to be done. With your learnings of the Enneagram, have you been able to reflect on that and see where that comes into play in your life? Does it come into play in your life? And if it doesn't, You know, how have you been able to kind of navigate ensuring that it doesn't?
Yeah, it definitely comes to play in my life. And I'm smiling because for Christmas, like I've seen that expressed as the passion of sloth.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
So, and for Christmas, I got our youngest this giant sloth stuffy. I mean, we call him Jeremy. And if he's like, I should have had him in the background because he's really funny in the background.
If you had him in the background during a 9 interview, that would slay. Like that would be the best.
You want me to go get him? I don't know where Jeremy is right now. But
oh my gosh, that's awesome.
He's really been like a visual trigger, like a visual reminder for me to force myself to act. And honestly, like I have a friend who's a real estate agent, and she said, you know, just talking about basically mom life, right? Like just unload your dishwasher as fast as you can without thinking about it. And I really apply that to anything that I feel I notice myself dragging my feet on. Now that said, I probably have items on my to-do list that have been there since last fall, but you know, I give myself a lot of space on that. And if I'm feeding the people and paying the people, and you know, I just don't beat myself up about it. I think I told you I recently started eating vegan. Which is, it's really crazy, and like whatever, I've eaten everything because I'm a 9. I feel so good, and I love it because I have like a list of things to do, and I just do them. I'm like, oh, you gave me the list, I can do that. For me to make the list for myself is more challenging. So I need someone to say, like, I need my accountant to say, like, if you don't do this, I can't reconcile fourth quarter, and then we can't do this. I'm like, okay, yes, I got to do that. I'm going to do that. But
great.
I really have to work at it and like make my own motivation. So maybe it's, you know, like playing, like my mom always says, when I was a little kid, I would say, what are we going to do that's fun today? That was my question. And of course she was like, you know, I don't know, kid. But I try to do that with myself. Like, okay, you can do what's fun today once you do XYZ that needs to be done.
That's great. I think those are great tips for other folks that lead with the type 9 or that struggle with that, you know, that tendency. And I will tell you, I operate with both wings, and really it's fairly equal at this point, but I see that in myself. I mean, I will let Amazon boxes sit unopened on my dining room table for like over a week, and because I'm married to a 9, like it could go on forever, like seriously. So like I definitely have some of those tendencies as well, and can recognize them in myself, and I think we all do to an extent, but I do think it's a very like lived experience with the 9s, and I love hearing about how the self-awareness that's developed with the tool really can help create tools that resolve those, you know, those challenges. So that's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And so when I know you're working not only on like some of the financial administrative side of running your business, but you're also working on business development and developing relationships. So let's talk about some of the strengths of the type 9 and how that looks in helping to grow a business and develop relationships.
Yeah, I mean, it's especially if I turn on my listening hat really well, it's just easy for me to relate to people and get behind their passion, especially if they're genuine and I can see that. So fortunately, I made a connection with a woman shortly before the pandemic hit last winter. And with her, for example, like by the fall, you know, we're on the phone about, oh, well, this went wrong with my last order. What can we do to fix that? Yeah, here's what we can do to fix that. And then when can we safely get together? And okay, love you, bye. Like, it's just, if I can find the people and find a way to connect, it's pretty easy for me to connect. And, you know, when it's not. I haven't figured out like who are the people who I can't connect with, but it doesn't matter because there's so many who I who I can.
Sure.
And I think it's genuine. It's not like fishing for business. It's looking for those relationships. And, like, from being in the printing industry, and as one of my other friends who does like data and analytics says, like, you either need printing or you don't. There aren't many people in business who, I mean, sure, as like a marketing tool, maybe some people aren't using it and could have somewhere to go there. But in general, it's like, it's either a need or it's not. And it's really those people who really need it, who we want to develop relationships with to try to like figure out what is our sweet spot, what's the perfect run for our shop, what can we do most efficiently, and grow the business, like I said. So I feel like that's the phase we're in. And when I have the opportunity to get together with people, especially if it's for that purpose, right? If it's clearly like this is a networking event, then I've been able to form some relationships pretty quickly in what little time I've had available to do that. Of course it's harder online, but LinkedIn has been pretty good, I think. And Instagram is fun, like it's easy to build up, especially smaller businesses right now through Instagram. Just, participate,
share their stuff and help them grow. I found in the label manufacturing world, the most fun I had was bringing to life somebody's new brand and watching the expressions on their face when they saw like their real life labels that were going to be on the shelf somewhere. Like that was a really, really big deal to them. And it was so important to get it right. And it was fun to watch and fun to be a part of that journey and really support them. And I'm sure you see that as well, especially with a digital platform where, and when I say that, I mean a digital press, which does have great turnaround times and produce beautiful quality. Do you have an HP?
So we were looking at HP before the pandemic, and right now we have, in the front and digital, we have Ricoh and Xerox, and in the back, our new big boy is a Ryobi.
That's so exciting. And I mean, these presses make brilliant products for people. So if you're a budding entrepreneur and you're needing commercial printing needs, like Seemless is a perfect place because they've got the equipment to turn it around quickly for you and be the top quality. So, it's fun to get stuff printed. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I mean it. I know the industry.
Yeah, no, it is really a joy to see somebody who's also an entrepreneur who has an idea and see that come to life and be in their hands. Like, we're a very hands-on family. Like, we all have something tactile that we love to do, and that's just, it runs like it's the blood of the business, the family. And I really believe that, I think the world is realizing that more and more people, that we need that, right? It's important.
Yeah. How many employees do you have?
So there's 6 of us, 7 when we need some overflow, and our son, who's on a gap year, fills in and helps out, like bust out boxes or do some bindery work in the back. So we really, like, we're a long-standing crew. Like, even though we've only been in business 23 years, which, Cincinnati is a real hub of the printing industry. And for people who are interested in the history of print, I'll give a shout out to my new friend, Gary Walton.
I knew you were going to say Gary. Yep.
Yes.
The Print Museum.
I love him. Yeah. Have you been over there?
I have not been over there, but I've heard about it. He came to our old company, Steinhauser, so many times, and he's very well connected and friends with Tara, the owner of Steinhauser, and some of our employees. So yeah, he's a neat guy, and he's so passionate about it.
100%. And he probably trained a lot of those people who work for Tara. He didn't necessarily train anybody in our shop because our press operator wasn't trained in Cincinnati. He's from Northern Ohio. But so like Christian and Micah, who work up front, they both went to Art Academy here locally. And they've both been in graphic design their whole careers. Micah also taught for a while at NKU, and he's been with some pretty big brand agencies before he started working with us. And then Pam, who, I mean, we really need to do like an office booth where we feature Pam, because Pam is like, she's our angel at the front desk, and she's also like super talented and brilliant with pre-press and data management and all this stuff. She keeps it rolling at the office for sure. So, you know, when our daughter got into the office, Christian can never get into the office because it's too much like real life, but our kids love it. And so I think we need to capitalize on that. So Pam knew him from like high school, I think. She went to, she was in a vocational program on the west side somewhere, I forget. I don't know if her school, it still exists, but she remembers Gary from high school when she was learning graphic design. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. But we should meet up over there sometime, because it's a really neat space. I know he's getting ready to do some construction because they had that accident. But I know he posts a lot of interesting content on the history of print, and especially here locally. And he's just a great resource for me to learn from, you know, being like married into the business. So I enjoy that. Yeah, we're looking forward to doing maybe some events together when things get a little easier.
Oh, good. That's awesome. Well, speaking of future things, is there anything new about your business that you want to let people know, or anything specific that you can think of that would be helpful for somebody that might want to contact you?
Yeah, absolutely. People are free to reach out directly to me. If anybody watching this just wants to connect, obviously I'm open to that. It's Alicia at seamlessprinting.com, and I'm Alicia like keys. That's ALICIA, and Seamless is with 2 E's. Don't ask for an explanation. We like how it looks and sounds. We haven't figured out the perfect tagline for that, but that's been our name forever. And, you know, there are a couple of new things about our business. Number one, now we're certified woman-owned. I've always been an owner and went through the process. Yeah, thank you. Since starting in the beginning of 2019, I officially became the president. Thank you. Yeah, and 51% owner. And so that's really exciting. And, you know, one of my first steps as the president was to get our shop unionized. So now our employees are unionized with the local Communication Workers of America. And, you know, really, I don't know a ton about the history of union and all the, you know, implications of that. We've always strived to pay our employees fairly, and they are wonderful and have a ton of experience. And, you know, it's been more challenging to reward them lately, but I'm hopeful that there's going to be a lot of opportunity for growth in the future to give them even more, because they totally deserve it. But, you know, now it's kind of like the union rep said, like, it's more of a kumbaya thing. Like, we're working together to do better. So that opens up some avenues for us that weren't available in the past. So we were fortunate in the pandemic to shift to some political printing, which is happening in Cincinnati again right now as the mayoral race heats up in city council.
Yeah, that's good. So there's some growth there. Good.
Yeah, so there's growth there, and that's great. And then we also, with the new press I was talking about, are doing more packaging. So we've been fortunate to partner with some great local brands. The one that's been awesome is Pumfu. Foodies Vegan is also a woman-owned business.
Valerie, right?
I don't know her. We work with her son, Mundi.
Okay, but it's that business, right? Formerly 5 Star Foodies. Yeah. Yes. Cool. Yeah. So we've been doing a lot of their packaging, so it's really exciting when I see it in the grocery store when I'm out doing mom life and grocery shopping. But working with them and other packaging just on the thicker stock. And we do. Are you doing folding cartons? Yeah. Okay. We do. So I have people that look for referrals for that. So that is good to know. Great. Yeah. We do the Pumfu boxes. Yeah. And we do as much of the bindery as we can in-house. We have
We have our new Ryobi, and we have this old Heidelberg. It used to be a press, but we use it for die cutting, and it's a beast. It's awesome. Like Gary loves it. He to come see that thing. And we didn't get into the whole way we started our business today, but that we can save that for another time. It sounds like techno music when it's really running. It's like boom, boom, boom. It's loud. So we've been doing that, and that's something new and exciting for us. But
awesome.
Anything, pocket footers, yard signs are huge, and I forget to push those, but that's been a real popular item lately. So
cool.
Pretty much anything printed. If we don't do it, we can help with it.
That's great. Okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. The last question is, where can people find you? Instagram handle, website, whatever.
Yeah, everything is Seemless Printing. Instagram is Seemless Printing, 2 E's, SEEMLESS. Website is Seemless Printing, and we even have the SEO for you to get to us, however you spell it. I'm on LinkedIn a lot, Facebook. We're there, but they make it, I think, a little bit more challenging for businesses to interact. And email me. Yeah, cool. You'll find us easily. Yeah.
Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. This was a really fun conversation. I really appreciate it.
I loved it too, Whitney. So awesome to spend time with you.
Thank you.